thing about 3D printers is the materials that we have available to us. So we actually have this rubber material that we've been able to start printing. It's called Ninja Flex. It's pretty cool stuff. It allows us to print gaskets and things for sound dampening of our motors. But another cool application is that we can print gears and mechanisms to have one soft gear and one hard gear, which allows us to get some noise reduction. Because noise is kind of everything. Motors are typically kind of loud, right? So when we're putting motors and things right under the stage, we don't want you as the audience member to really be able to hear them, right? We sometimes cover up loud noises with sound cues and kind of turn the volume of music playing, but it really helps us out a lot to be able to quiet things down a lot. So that's part of what we're using the 3D printers for as well. Nothing printing right now. But yeah, do y'all have any questions? Any curiosities about 3D printing? No?
What's your favorite thing you've ever built?
Here we did an effect for Hannah and the Dread Gazebo a couple years ago. It was a, I think it was that a world premiere?
Yeah.
I can't remember. Yeah, it was. We built a 22-foot wide wall that was 17 foot tall and 1 foot deep. So big giant wall, right? About from this wall to that wall and 3 times my height. And it needed to come down and cantilever in it as a drawbridge and stop at like 15 degrees. And when it stopped at that 15 degrees, it was then a walkable surface. It was a rooftop.
Whoa.
So they walked up, walked down, and then it retracted back up and became a vertical wall again, right? But the director and designer were very particular about not wanting to see cables support the corners of the wall. So the whole thing was counterbalanced, and we had to build a whole weight system under the floor to keep the whole thing weighted. So it was really like a big teeter-totter, how you have like weight on one end, maybe the wall on the other end, and there's a pivot point. Well, it was kind of like that, except for you could only see the wall, and the other half of the teeter-totter was under the stage. So what you couldn't see under the floor was this giant mechanism full of weight that was rolling down stage and upstage under the floor. So the whole thing weighed about 4 tons. Yeah, it's about 3.5 cars-ish. We actually had to brace the floor for that effect so that the stage floor didn't collapse. Pretty cool effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, we do giant effects like that, and some days we're doing curtains that move, or tiny little gadgets, or scoreboards, or little lift casters. So one really cool thing about working in this department is just panoply of random cool projects you get to work on a day-to-day basis. Usually about 6 of our shows of the 11 that play in the season are covered on the have our hands full with the 3 of us a lot of the time.
Thanks, Ryan.
Absolutely, yeah, thanks for coming through.
Thank you.
Don't look at the blue light over there, it'll sunburn your eyes.
What's he working on?
Tim is TIG welding up. What are you working on? The tracks?
I'm making gears for hairspray.
So Tim's making replacement gears for hairspray because they wear sometimes and break. So he's actually working on one of the parts that spins the house that you saw right now. So he's making replacement parts for that. Yeah.
I won't hold more, you come on.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Well, the stuff on that is custom-made gears for the hairspray house. We have to work with what we have. So found these gear sets that we like that give us the right gear ratio, and then turn our own shafts, just weld them on. So to make all our own toys. Sure thing.
Do you work with 3D printed gears too?
We do have some 3D printed gears. Depending on how strong it needs to be, we can change what we need to make it out of. So, let me grab something real quick. How many years ago we had a and we were concerned about
You said you needed to drag them?
to drive curtains
Drive, okay.
on and off stage, and we were concerned about if you use too hard plastics, that it's going to make noise. So we printed one of them out of a flexible plastic.
Wow.
So that's the flexible one, and this is the hard one. So for something really lightweight like a curtain, we can just use a 3D print. But this is how big is that house? 8 foot deep, 22 feet wide, 17 foot tall.
Wow.
Feet tall. So we need something a little bit beefier, and we've actually broken a couple of these gears already. So I'm making more replacements.
All right, let's continue on.
That one's hot.
Yep.
To the
Sure thing.
metal shop.
Thank you.
Sure thing. Have a good one, y'all.
That's the pasta. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah.
So this is the metal shop. This is where they build a lot of the infrastructure, substructure for a lot of the scenery. Might be a little loud in here, but mind talking a little bit to you about what you do?
So welcome. Where are you guys from?
Oakland, Skyline High School.
Great, awesome. So here in the metal shop, we do the metal fabrication for the scenery, and almost all of our scenery starts with a metal frame. So even if you don't see it on stage, it usually has a metal frame underneath it. So like all our floors, all our wagons, they all start with a metal frame, sort of something similar to like this. And then it would get covered with wood and different applications on it. And so that's what the audience sees. And one reason why we do that is because our shows run so long that, you know, some of the shows run for 10 months, some of them run for 120 performances. And because we're in repertory theater, and repertory, you know, the show changes every day, sometimes twice a day. And the shows have to come apart and go together like a puzzle. And so they take a lot of wear and tear. Every 2 days they're getting taken apart and putting back together like a puzzle. And so that's one of the reasons why we use a big steel frame like that. So it's kind of cool. So like 75% of the stuff that we do in here you'll never see. Some shows, depending on the design, you'll see the steel element in it. Like we did a Hamlet a couple years ago.